What a Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It's 1:15, and the 5 people who are going to watch this video. uh, I wanted to talk about investment some more, even though I only got like 2 hits on my last video. But still, those 2 people listened to my video, and I know I did because I made revenue on it. And that's what it's all about. I got some videos I've never made a cent on, and I've got like a couple hundred hits, and I got some videos that I've made 3-4 cents on. It's got maybe 5 videos because they watch the whole video. It's the content. Nonetheless, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing it because I like talking about it. So I'm just curious to if anybody has ever watched the show American Greed. And the reason why I bring that up is because American Greed gives you a perfect illustration of how to get trapped in investments. Okay, so let's just take an example of a program of somebody who probably was on American Greed, Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff was a con artist who is in jail now. Got beat up a couple times because he ripped off just about anybody he could, but he did it using a Ponzi scheme. Now, if you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, I'm gonna assume that the majority of you do know what it is, but some of you might not know what it is. But okay, a Ponzi scheme is basically where you invest a certain amount of money. Let's just say you invest $1,000 of somebody's money into the market. Well, when you do that, you tell the person whose money you invested that they're going to get a certain percentage of a return at a certain time. So let's just say that your percentage is unnaturally high. And when I say unnaturally, it's just like, say you're giving people a 50% to 75% return every quarter. So every 3 months, that person who invests $1,000, we'll just pick a small number because it's usually not that small, they get a return of 15 to almost 17, 18 $100 every quarter. But let's use a larger number because the people who were investing in Bernie Madoff were people like John Malkovich, the actor, doggone good actor, great actor. Other actors like, oh, that's my man's too. You can see his face, but I can't. I'll think of his face later. Uh, the guy who played in Badass, who played the dad, uh, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage. He's made so many movies. He's made so much money, but he is bad at investments. I mean, he buys like dinosaur bones and stuff like that. He's terrible at investments. But the thing about Nicolas Cage is his last name isn't Cage. He's a Coppola. He's a Ford Coppola. And because he's a Ford Coppola, which are of the Jewish descent, his father or his relative is Francis Ford Coppola. So you guys can get into that, but nonetheless, so Nicolas Cage is horrible at investing his money. He buys mansions and all this, but he can blow that money because he knows the deal. Anyways, I also like him as an actor. He was just in Snowden, but nonetheless, he also invested with Bernie Madoff, I believe, and lost a bunch of money. So when you have somebody who is on that level in the 36, 37% tax bracket, when they invest, you're looking at them throwing in $500,000, million, 2 million, 10, whatever. But we'll just say that I don't know how much they threw in, but being that Bernie Madoff's uh, reputation spread like wildfire, that he was giving people high returns every quarter, everybody wanted a piece of it. Even the little guy was bringing Bernie Madoff money. It wasn't just rich guys who he beat it. But basically, so he would take somebody like, let's say he would get a big fish like Malkovich, and Malkovich would give him $2 million to invest because he was thinking, heck, I'm gonna get every quarter, 4 times a year. I'm gonna get what, almost 3 million. You know what I'm saying? So off of 2 million, I'm going to make what, 12, what, 9, 12 million. I mean, this is what he's thinking in a year. So once that news gets around and big fish like him get on and they give him this money, what Bernie Madoff did was he took that money that the big fish gave him and he told the little fish, say guys who were just mom and pop store owners, say they had $50,000. They wanted to get in on it too because they heard about the return. So they said, here's 50 G's, Madoff, do your thug nizzle. So he would. But the thing about it is, the money that he was giving to the little fish was basically the money got off the big fish. He wasn't earning that money in the market. It was all a lie. And eventually his lies caught up with him. And once they did, his son and his daughter pretty much told on him because they also invested with him too and they found out it was all a lie. But about that time, Bernie Madoff was so rich, it was ridiculous. But nonetheless, when he got caught, the whole thing fell down and people had invested their life savings in him. And that's why I say watch American Greed if you're interested in investments. Because he's not the only person who's ran a Ponzi scheme. There's another guy on there who ran a Ponzi scheme. I don't know what his name was. He was like, people were just walking up to his door, handing him, hundreds of thousands of dollars cash. So he would just take that money, he'd just pay the little guy. But he would get enough little guys that every quarter he could pay the big guy. Until one day he just couldn't. And that's just how it works. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys who are interested in investments. Watch American Greed. You'll see how lawyers can jank you. You'll see how, like, Sting lost $2 million and his accountant stole it just because he had access to his accounts. Like, stuff like that is pertinent when you actually do get into the market and you start making money and you're looking to control your investments. You'll start seeing how people will start paying you attention, and they don't always have the best intentions for you. You'll also have to watch how tricky the market is. Like, look what happened in 1929 when the market crashed, and then look at 2008 when the market crashed, and look at the World Bank and how the World Bank, uh, for one, how they bounced back, how our economy bounced back, and who actually crashed the market. Now, I'm not going to start tossing out any names there, but you look at the events that crashed the market. And like I said, it's all about timing. Don't be in a hurry to get into investments or, VC and all that, because if you look on Shark Tank, you'll see how some companies just go belly up. An example of that was Toy Guru. And who put money into that? Mark Cuban. But the thing about Mark Cuban is he's a tech mogul. He doesn't make his money off of investing in a bunch of people. He makes some of it, but that's not his primary. I mean, being that he has a basketball team, but before he even had a basketball team, he was a billionaire off of technology, and he's richer than, and he has more money than every single shark on the show. But you listen to his analytical thinking and listen to the way he picks apart a potential investment, and as they all do. But the way Mark does it is on a level of, he sees the number and he starts picking apart the number, and he does it just like an algorithm. And that's the way he thinks. He thinks on terms of algorithms. And all the sharks have their benefits. Lori, the way Lori thinks, she thinks on, how can I make this grow fast? Boom. Just like she did, uh, the one guy, oh, he blew up so quick. But nonetheless, she thinks, how can I get this to blow up quick? Boom. She's always about the patent. She doesn't really, she focuses on the patent because she wants a part of the patent. So if she makes that blow up, she has a part of the patent uh, in perpetuity. So that's what she's interested. You look at Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful is interested in also making something blow up fast, but he is a big time perpetuity uh, uh, individual. But the thing that you really got to watch about Mr. Wonderful is the way he invests, because he will talk about how to get his money back in ways that the other investors, they just don't do. They don't even think about it. I mean, he wants his money back in like royalties, and then like he'll say, "Give me a 2% royalty, and just to make me happy, give me give me 3% of the company." But then he might do something that's accelerated. So he'll get his money back faster, and then he'll go ahead and cut his investment. He'll be like, "You pay me back my $200,000 within 2 years," and then he'll say, "I'll just own 3% of the company, or I'll drop to 1% of the company." In perpetuity. I mean, just listen to these investors and just get some ideas, but pick apart their numbers, especially when it comes to venture capitalists. So it's your boy Tone 202 for the three people who are going to watch this. And don't forget to check out my music just right there. Peace.